So we have somewhat of an unofficial and still unconfirmed word from Louis Vuitton as to what they're doing with the Louis Vuitton Neverfull and or their canvas pieces. Though it's unconfirmed, we are currently seeing live in action that Louis Vuitton has put in place somewhat of a policy to dictate how customers can now get a Louis Vuitton Neverfull, whether in canvas or in leather. Customers will now either have to request these pieces through their sales associates or contact customer services and have their names placed on a wait list for the items. It's kind of like their version of the Birkin games in a way, but it's not really a beat around the bush game, but it's more like a waiting game. Like, put your name here, wait to get called, and you better pick up the phone, because if you don't pick up the phone, then we're skipping to the next person. And a lot of people are mad about this. Essentially, they've slowed production of the Neverfull bags in an attempt to make the items much more exclusive and reportedly for ethical and environmental reasons. The Louis Vuitton Neverfull, especially in canvas, was one of my very first loves in designer fashion. It still is today, and a lot of people feel the same. Undoubtedly, it's one of the most loved designer handbags in history and one of the most replicated and counterfeited items, if not the most. And whilst this might have seemed admirable to begin with, it eventually led to the devaluation of the bag. I'm not sure if devaluation is a word, but it cheapened the bag. People started to call the bag common and basic as it became more and more accessible to consumers, whether authentic or counterfeit. But regardless of this, once the quality is held at the highest standard, the Louis Vuitton Neverfull is a great bag. I think this new policy, unconfirmed again, is a great one for the business because it essentially is reserving and preserving this treasure of a bag for its most loyal customers. Those who would appreciate the legacy and the history of the bag and appreciate the heritage of the brand. To be honest, nowadays, high-end luxury designer brands and their items can really only be differentiated from non-luxury branded items by their history and the stories that they tell their consumers to convince them that they should be perceived better than other brands. The only thing they have going for them is exclusivity. And there's been a lot of outrage, especially for Louis Vuitton canvas pieces, because of the most recent and frequent price increases. And they're also outraged because a lot of hopefuls have now been priced out of having a Louis Vuitton Neverfull in their collection. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, especially in canvas, yes, it's a basic bag. And by basic, I mean it's a basic piece that needs to be in everybody's collection. But of course, I also respect that you are entitled to your own opinions. And as a fashion findus, I have found for you some very popular alternatives to the Louis Vuitton Neverfull that people are wearing today. So these are the bags for those of you who are looking for an alternate to the Neverfull, those of you who have never been interested in Neverfull, but you do want to have a very nice popular designer tote, or you have no intention of going through any process and playing any games to get your bag. In the last 2 years, I've been seeing more Goyard St. Louis totes than any other totes. And this bag was actually designed and released before the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, and some people think that the Louis Vuitton Neverfull was actually made as a rival to this bag, but they did their bag so well that they really took off. But Goyard is a little bit more exclusive than Louis Vuitton, so they had their very faithful and loyal customers who were eating out their St. Louis bags. What I love about the Goyard St. Louis totes is that they come in a few different variations, and several of them are reversible. To my knowledge, I don't think the Louis Vuitton Neverfull is a good bag to reverse. I think you can reverse the bag, turn it inside out, but it doesn't look good that way. Also think the Goyard St. Louis tote comes in a lot more colors than the Louis Vuitton Neverfull has. And I think most of them are a little bit more pricey than the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, but I think they're great bags. The monogram is not very obvious if a lot of people don't know Goyard because the brand is so exclusive. So it makes it a little bit more on the understated side, even though it's a whole monogrammed piece. And I can definitely appreciate that Goyard St. Louis totes are not for everyone, but a lot of people are wearing them, so they're definitely loved by some. Another set of monogram totes that resemble the Goyard St. Louis totes more than the Louis Vuitton Neverfull are these bags from Foray Lapage. In my opinion, these bags look a little bit more luxurious. They look a little bit more refined than the St. Louis totes, and they're a little bit more affordable. That makes them much better. The colors on them are just a little bit more rich and deep in comparison to the goyard bags. I'm now seeing this more in person on a lot of people than I'd ever seen before. About 2 years ago was the first time I saw this bag on someone else's channel. I believe it was Isabel Styles, and she loved this bag and she talked about this bag so many times. And I've seen a couple other content creators with this bag, but in the last year or so, I've actually seen, I want to say, at least 10 people with this bag. So it's becoming more and more popular, and because it's more affordable, I think a lot more people are purchasing this, and I think it's a great bag. Way, 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 way more affordable than those two, but look similar to those two, are these bags from Tory Burch. They're called the Ever Ready Monogram Totes, and they come in quite a lot of different colors. Tory Burch is a great, great entry-level bag for those of you who are coming from dirt cheap type of bags that don't last for more than 2 months, and you want to get a decent bag that's not too expensive, not too popular, and is not too loud. Tory Burch is definitely a brand to look into, and these totes are a cut above the rest. I also found this one by the brand Etro or Etro. It's called the Paisley Printed Leather Tote, and it's only $640. But if you don't really look good, if you're seeing this tote from afar, it literally looks like a Neverfull, especially with the handles that look very, very reminiscent of the vachetta leather from the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. Now, Gucci Ophidia bags are always a good option. The Gucci Ophidia tote, they come in several different variations as well, but they are pretty good bags. You would look at this and see the GG monogram, and you'd think that this is just too noisy, it's just too obvious, it's just too distinct, it will not go with a lot of outfits. Surprisingly, I've seen a lot of people, especially in corporate America, they wear this bag, whether it be in this canvas variation or in the blue, and it somehow fits almost everything that they wear. I've seen it in several different situations with several different types of outfits, and they just look good. They don't look tacky at all. So if you're a Gucci person, you want to have a Gucci piece, you want to have a functional Gucci piece, definitely look into the Gucci Ophidia line, not just their totes, but any style of bag in general. The MCM monogrammed totes also seem to be very, very popular, and you'd think it clashes with a lot of clothing like the Gucci Ophidia, and it looks too casual, but I've seen a few people wear them in ways that make them look professional. I've seen some versions of them available in Nordstrom Rack, and you can tell when something is popular, they have to make like a more affordable version so that the masses can purchase them. And this is definitely one I've seen being introduced into the off-season stores a little bit more often now than I'd seen them before. Finally, I want to highlight a bag from a high-end luxury designer brand that I think is just very underrated. Balmain. Yes, I know, we all know the Balmain t-shirts, and we know the Balmain jacket, and we know that Balmain does a lot of haute couture, but I think they're really slept on with a lot of their ready-to-wear and a lot of their accessories, especially their handbags. And this is actually a monogram piece from them, and I think it's a great monogram because in comparison to a lot of the other ones that I showed you, it's not too busy, it's not too distinct, it's definitely not dated, and I think it will go well with a lot of different outfits in a lot of different situations. Balmain is definitely a brand we need to pay more and more attention to, especially for daily wear items and accessories. And this particular bag in general is just so unique, and in comparison to Louis Vuitton Neverfull, the price is much more affordable. All in all, I think this new policy for Louis Vuitton, if executed well, will help the brand because it's going to bring back that exclusivity that it's lost in recent years. And it doesn't matter what people are saying. People like to feel superior. They like to have things that other people do not have, especially when they cost more money. So all the talk that's going on, people are still going to buy those Louis Vuitton pieces. We are hearing how Chanel had record-breaking sales recently after everyone has been talking for years how their classic pieces that have been going up in prices have been going down in quality. People are still going to buy these items it doesn't matter what they're saying, people are going to still buy high-end luxury designer items because they love to make those statements of superiority through their fashion. I also think it's good for the consumer because the resale market has been hit recently, in my opinion. I don't have statistics or none of that to prove, but with all the counterfeits that have been going on recently, it's getting harder and harder to purchase something confidently off the resale market, to spend thousands of dollars in the resale market and expecting an authentic item, especially with super fakes. So I think trying to grasp back that exclusivity and slowing down production, and if they're willing to increase or improve the quality of their items back to at least their original high quality state or surpass that, they will be able to offer a better item to the consumer, and the consumer can definitely have high quality pieces that they can enjoy more and more in this day and age. Let me know what you think though. Engage in the comment section and tell me, do you think this new policy, unconfirmed, that Louis Vuitton has in place for waitlisting their Neverfull items, do you think it is a good policy for the brand and for the consumer? Are you still planning to get or add any pieces of Louis Vuitton Neverfulls to your collection? And what about the bags I've presented to you? Do you own any of them? Do you love them? Are you having any issues with them? Until my next video, stay fashionably well and in good health. Especially with the handles that look very, very reminiscent of the Vachetta letter, of the especially with the handles that look very, very reminiscent of the Vachetta letter. Wow.